Hello everyone, Sharabin here, and welcome to my part 2 of my Pokemon Black and White rewrite. So without further ado, let's dive in. Things pretty much go to cannon court for a while, with Ash still ending up catching Snivy. But at this point, I'd ask Hilbert and Hill to tell him a bit more about themselves, and this is where we're gonna get some of their backstory. Hilbert and Hilda both grew up in Mistral City, where they both got to spend a lot of time around flying-type Pokemon, especially with Miles, the city's gym leader. It was by watching him, Hilbert started growing interested in Pokemon battles and wanting to become a strong trainer. Later on, when Miles retired and his granddaughter Scarlet took over the gym, Hilbert started to watch more of their battles and might even give Hilbert some tips, as well as giving both him and Hilda their starter Pokemon, Rufflet and Lullaby. We also get a scene when Hilda's promised Skylar that one day he's gonna return, and when he does, he's gonna send her to a battle, with Skylar promising Hilbert that he's gonna accept the challenge and they're gonna have an awesome battle. We then have a scene with a younger Hilda along with her family going to the Plaza City and watching the Pokemon musical for the first time. This is where Hilda started getting involved in the Pokemon musical and wanted to participate herself. Lastly, they have a moment where they talk about what Hilda was training Lullaby for a performance when Ardino showed up and actually got interested in the performance. But then when Hilda got injured during their practice, Ardino was right there to heal her. So Ardino decided to go with Hilda to both help when they come to performing and also heal Hilda in case she gets injured. As they continue the journey, they eventually ending up at another battle club where they run into Sharon a second time. This is when Aaron introduces Sharon Hilbert and Hilda, and vice versa. And Sharon tells that he has gotten stronger and wants to see how he fares against him in battle. However, before Ash can accept, Hilbert walked forward and said that he wanted to battle Sharon. Being surprised by this, Sharon does eventually agree, saying he wants to know how someone that's been traveling with Ash would actually fare in battle. So he agrees to the battle, and the two will eventually take part on the battlefield. They send in the first Pokemon, with Sharon sending in Purloin as Hilbert sending in Munna. Immediately it's apparent that Hilbert is clearly outmatched, as Purloin is both fat and has a type advantage, while Munna doesn't actually have any attack that can actually hit it. So with not much effort, Hilbert loses his first Pokemon, and then he decides to send in his second Pokemon, Rufflet. The battle immediately turns aside, with Rufflet's aerial advantage giving Neat and actually able to take down Purloin. That's when Hilbert sends in his second Pokemon, Pidove. It immediately becomes a battle of the sky, and while Pidove is faster, Rufflet has the more strength. And eventually, Strength is the one who wins, and Pidove falls, and with that, Sharon decides to send in his final Pokemon, Servine, revealing that his Snivy has evolved, and immediately strikes Rufflet with a powerful Leaf Tornado, which is actually able to take it out. With that, Hilbert sends in his final Pokemon, Tepig, and while it seems that Hilbert has the advantage, Sharon is definitely no pushover. With Servine's power, is able to easily counteract the type advantage Tepig has. And eventually, Tepig is the one who falls, meaning that Sharon has won. Sharon dismisses Hilbert as not a strong trainer, however, Hilbert immediately tells him that he's gonna become stronger, eventually he's gonna beat him next time. Sharon doesn't really believe it, and they decide to go since his Pokemon are exhausted, he cannot battle Ash at their current state. So immediately, Hilbert has made his first official rival, and he's gonna prove to Sharon that he's far more capable than he believed. After a few days, Ash and the gang eventually reach a daycare, and one of the workers there asks if they can allow the children there to play with their Pokemon. However, all of a sudden, Team Plasma shows up and demands that the kids releasing all their Pokemon. And immediately, the gang spring into action, with Ash and Hilbert battling the Team Plasma Grunt and Hilda trying to protect their children. As soon as the head grunts try to force two children to release the Pokemon, Hilbert shows up with Tepig and battle them off. At the same time, Ash battled another head grunt with a Trubbish alongside his Pikachu. However, with Trubbish, they are able to poison Pikachu, which eventually turned the battle against Ash. All of a sudden, a couple of rocks flies out of nowhere and hit Trubbish, forcing it back. It turned out to be none other than Santa with glasses, who had actually shown to follow Ash and Pikachu, coming to respect Pikachu's strength and wanting to battle him again. But seeing all the trouble, he decided to help them for the day. So Pikachu and Santa immediately combine the two powers and is able to take down the grunts they were facing. With nothing left to do, Santa leaves, but Ash has a feeling that Santa is eventually gonna show up again. At the end of the day, the daycare workers thank the gang for helping, and one of them gives Hilbert a Pokemon egg for protecting the children. Hilbert is happy about this, and Ash helps him getting his very first Pokemon egg. Our next stop on the journey is Ash, Hilbert, and Hilda travel. Eventually, they run into Bianca once again. Ash introduces Bianca to Hilbert and Hilda, and vice versa. And that's when they learned Bianca is currently looking for a Machino that he's been trying to capture for a few days. The gang decide to help her find it, and eventually they find it, and Bianca chooses to use her newly evolved Pignite to battle and eventually catch me. After first, Bianca challenged Ash to a battle and Ash eagerly accepts. The battle is a 3-on-3 and the third Pokemon is Gible and Mienfoo. The battle is immediately one-sided, however, against Ash this time. As Bianca reveals that he knew that he was going to face Gible eventually, so he decided to go with Mienfoo, since he has a pretty powerful attack, that being none other than Ice Punch. As the move strikes Gible hard, it eventually is clear that it can't take many more. However, Ash and Gible still fight it off, not allowing Mienfoo to defeat him easily. But eventually, a powerful Ice Punch uppercut is able to take down Gible, meaning that Bianca managed to defeat the Pokemon that defeated her last time. After that, Ash descends in Snivy, and with her clever use of Attract, they're able to defeat Mienfoo relatively easily. Bianca then sent in her Vicino, and the battle immediately begins. Since none of them can truly utilize Attract, it becomes a battle of all their other moves. Eventually, it becomes a collision between Double Slap and Leaf Blade, and the collision is so strong that it actually forces a double knockout. With that, the two of them send in their final Pokemon, Pikachu and Pikachu. This duel eventually ends up just saving canon, as Pikachu comes out on top and Ash beating Bianca once again. While disappointed, Bianca said that she's going to continue training hard, and with that she leaves and the game continues their journey. We then are again finally reaching Nacruin City. However, once they get to the Pokemon Center, they run into someone they weren't expecting, N. N asks Ash if he can have a moment of his time, and Ash eventually agrees. N again explains his idea of having Pokemon separating from humans, and this causes Ash to get angry. He's saying that Pokemon and humans are fighting to get after so long and forcing them apart is just cruel. However, N just smiles, saying that he appreciates Ash's strong ideals, but says that in order to face his ideal, N is going to have to use his own truth. And the strongest truth there is Reshiram. Ash has no idea what that is, and simply say that he's going to find out eventually, and tell Ash to keep opposing him, that maybe he has the ideals to finally beat the truth. However, he has severe doubt about that. When N leaves, Ash reunites with Hilbert and Hilda, and he explains what El told them. Being a bit confused by this, they suggest that they go to the Nacruin Museum, seeing that it has a library where they could probably learn more about what N talked about. While there, they start reading and eventually find a book about two legendary Pokemon of the Unova region, Zekrom and Reshiram. Zekrom believed to be the Pokemon of ideals, and Reshiram to be the Pokemon of truth. They eventually learn the history between the two of them, and the legend says that if a person has strong ideal or strong truth, then these legendary Pokemon will descend upon them and grant them their powers. They eventually then meet Lenora, which reveals that the museum also serves as the gym. This gets Ash excited, and he immediately challenges her to a battle, which she agrees to. Eventually, they reach the battlefield and reveal to be on 2-on-2, with both sides are able to switch out, actually with Oshawott as Lenora sent in Lillipup. However, Lenora immediately calls on a war, which forces Oshawott to get switched out instead of Snivy. Then Lenora switches out and sent in a Watchog, which completely throws her at the river a bit. Lenora then have Watchog using Confusion to cause Snivy to be unable to move around as much, which really throws Ash back. However, that is when Ash decided to pull out the strategy of his own in Attract. The Attract managed to land, and Watchog is infatuated by it, as Snivy finally breaks the confusion and delivers powerful attacks. Eventually, Ituma and Watchog falls. Then Lenora sends back in Lillipup, which eventually is able to take down Snivy. Lake Ash sent in Oshawott once again, and the two of them battle, and eventually it becomes a collision between Takedown and Razor Shell. And in the end, Oshawott is the one who wins, and Ash has gotten his second gym badge. After a night resting in the Pokemon Center, Hilbert challenges Lenora to his own battle, and Lenora is more than happy to agree. Lenora once again stops Lillipup as Hilbert sends in his Tepig. Once again, she uses Roar to force the Tepig out, and in comes Moonlight. As Lenora then forces into Watchog, Hilbert expects her to go for Confusion her last time, but that is when Lenora calls for a move Hilbert wasn't expecting. Mean Look. Completely surprised by this, he is surprised when he realizes he can no longer switch out Moonlight, and Watchog immediately goes on the offensive, actually able to deliver powerful hits, and eventually Moonlight is taken down. He then sends in Tepig, however Lenora switches back into Lillipup, and eventually is able to take Tepig down. This causes Hilbert to get sad at the fact that he lost the gym battle. Lenora said he can take a rematch any time, however he can have to become far stronger first. The following day, Hilbert did crash. He never lost a battle in a battle before. Ash and Hilda is there to share a map and telling them that he'd be able to beat Lenora next time. However, Hilbert is not so sure. He gave everything he had, and he was still completely outmatched. What can he do different? That is when Hilda suggests that they go to the battle club and have Don George help Hilbert train. Think it's a good idea, Ash encouraging it, and Hilbert decides to agree. They all reach the battle club, and he grants him into Don George, and he put Hilbert on a special training program, and Ash to join in. Even if he already won, he still wanted to keep training to become stronger. Seeing no reason to deny this, Dodger agrees. And so, Hilbert working with both his Tepig and Munna, and eventually causing them to both learn a new move in Confuse Ray and Flame Charge. At the same time, over that, he trained with both Snivy and Oshawott until they both also learned new moves in Coil and Aqua Jet. After a few days, Hilbert could return to the gym and challenge Nora to rematch, which he happily agrees to. However, he had not just been sitting idly by and decided to troll her farms. At the battle begins, Hilbert sent in Tepig. However, Lenora sent in her newly evolved Herdier, revealing that he had been planning to have a surprise for Hilbert when he eventually returned. This frightened Hilbert for a bit. However, Ashley and Hilda shares him out, and he's eventually able to get back into it. The battle starts the same as last time, with Herdier using Roar, Force, and Tepig in for Munna, and Lenora then switches into Warshock. However, when Lenora is about to call for Confuse Ray, Hilbert smirks and immediately calls Munna to use Imprison. So when Warshock tries to use Confuse Ray, it immediately gets dumped, and this actually surprises Lenora. Hilda is confused by it, and now to explain what Enjoy told him about Imprison, being a move that causes the opponent to be unable to use any attack that the user also knows. As this Munna now knows Confuse Ray just like Warshock, it prevented it from using it. With that, Hilbert decided to call his own Confuse Ray to confuse Warshock, which actually seemed to work. However, Lenora is not easily defeated, so he immediately calls on Warshock to use the other attack, and eventually is able to snap out of confusion and deliver some heavy hits. Eventually, it comes down to a collision between Psybeam and Thunderbolt, and both are cleansed. While Munna is injured, Warshock has fallen. Hilbert shares, however, Lenora reminds him he's not done yet, and sends back in Herdier, which is able to take Munna out with a quick Shadow Ball. With that, he dances in Tepig, and a battle ensues between the two, and eventually, Tepig able to win, and Hilbert obtained his second gym badge. After Lenora congratulates him, Hilbert, and Hilda return to a road to continue their journey. In the meantime, out in a barren desert, a mysterious castle has recently been discovered, and Team Rocket is there to enact their goals. And that will be all for today. Thank you so much for watching, like and subscribe if you like this, and I'll see you all in part 3. Bye!